All right, so let me set the stage for you as best I can. The year is 2015, and I was working for a company called Novant at the time. I'd been there since 2012. I'd started as a CNA, and my unit leader, we called them CULs. My CUL came to me one day and said, "Chris, this unit coming up soon will be a BSN only unit." And knowing that, that I was LPN, she said, "Hey, this is going to be a BSN only unit coming up within the next little bit. So it may be best if you go ahead and start looking for another job or looking for a transfer, whatever it may be." Now, Obamacare or Affordable Care Act was sort of in its infancy at the time in 2015. Did it have something to do with it or no? I'm not 100% sure, but that was definitely the rumor going around that people would say, "Hey, due to Obamacare, due to Affordable Care Act, it's difficult units to work on." I was on a diabetic unit, the only one in the state of North Carolina at the time. It was a difficult unit, and they were going to only BSNs. Now, could it be skill related, payment related? I'm not exactly sure, but it was about March, April. My CUL came to me and says, "Chris, we're not going to have LPNs here anymore coming up soon. The writing's on the wall. You guys are on your way out of this unit soon. So it's going to be best if you go ahead and start looking for another job." I said, "Okay." I was kind of bummed about this. I honestly, legitimately thought that I was going to retire on that unit at that hospital. I never planned on leaving my job. I'd been there since 2012. And, excuse me. So I said, "Okay, I'll go ahead and start putting in applications here or there." Well, I went on ahead and got hired on at a place called Bowda Home Health. And I had worked for Bowda before as a CNA, so I knew people there, and they took me back. And they said, "Okay, we'll go ahead and work your notice, and we'll bring you on." Excuse me. So as I'm working my notice, finishing up my notice of leaving the hospital system, one morning, everybody's phone goes off and it says, "Report to your CUL immediately," or "Report to your CUL as soon as possible." And people got this text, and then they started texting other people, and texting did exist in 2015. Say, "Hey, did you get this message about reporting to your CUL? Did you get the message to report to her? Did you get this message?" Yeah, we were all like, "Yeah, we all got this. We all get this message to report to our CUL. Yeah, no one knows what this is about." So we all sort of report to our CULs, and to find out that a big layoff was happening, effective immediately. What you could do, and like I said, fortunately in this time, and it was just truly circumstance that it happened for me like this. I was in my notice. I was actually at the very, very end of my notice period. So I was, fortunately, thankfully, I was set. But other people were not. It was basically saying, effective immediately, your position is no longer welcome here. And the news reported, of course, the news was a little bit late because I remember this being in April, and the first time I remember reading about it was Mayish. In the newspapers, but the newspapers reported 400 people got laid off from Novant, and I would think that it was probably a bigger number, but I could be wrong as to what the exact total number was. In any case, I didn't actually report to my CUL. Someone else had told me what was going on. I didn't even bother reporting to my CUL because I was already done. I was already out. So it didn't really affect me, thankfully, like I said. But people were reporting to me, "Hey, my job is gone. My position is cut from this company." A lot of the people at the time were what's called sec techs. Basically, they were CNAs who could run the nursing desk, the nurse station. They could literally run the entire nurse station, and they were a CNA, and they would take a team as a CNA. That entire position got cut. That was an entire group of people that they just said, "You know what, y'all are out." So all the sec techs were gone immediately that day. The LPNs, and like I said, thankfully my CUA had told me, hey, this unit is no longer going to have LPNs. This unit will be a BSN only unit. The LPNs were told relocate or you're gone. Relocation meant you could go to a doctor's office, or the ICU kept the LPNs, and they use the LPNs sort of as CNAs. You could either go to the ICU as an LPN, or you could transfer to a doctor's office. But the hospital itself, like the med-surg units or the non-ICU units, step-down med-surg, really anything else, they're getting rid of the LPNs and y'all are gone, or, we're gone. And so it was just all of a sudden, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. No one had a clue that this was going on. And like I said, the rumor was that it was all due to sort of an Affordable Care Act billing sort of thing that had happened. And I never found out if that was true or not, if it was an Affordable Care Act billing thing or whatever it may be. But I mean, just like that, the newspaper says 400, so I'm gonna have to go with 400 people. 400 people lost their jobs, just boom, that quick. And some of them were nurses, and some of them, believe it or not, were RNs. And the rumor, again, this was just a rumor. The rumor was that if your age and your years of service equaled 80, you were a candidate for leaving, for getting your position taken from you. So let's just say that you're 60 years old with 20 years experience. That's 80 years. You have a very good chance of losing your job. That was a rumor. That was a rumor, not truth. Again, not proven. But I do know that there were even, yes, RNs who lost their jobs that day. It was a terrifying time. It was scary for me, and like I said, it was more anxious for me because I knew these people. I'd worked with these people for a long time. I'd worked with these people, some of them several years, and they were gone. Of course, like I said, I was out. I was already done. I had already had another job. Everything was already good for me, but that doesn't mean it was good for all the other people there. And it was terrifying. And as I'm looking sort of in the pages now and I see all these LPN positions, or that were a lot of LPN positions in the hospital setting, start to slow down, it sort of makes me question, hey, is this coming back around? Novant, again, just about 2 months ago, laid off 160 employees, although it was IT related, computer related. It wasn't nursing related or floor staff related at all. They still laid off 160 employees. That's a lot of people that they just laid off again. And it's, the writing on the wall is starting to come back. And that draws my concern for the LPNs in the hospital systems, because I remember it. And it was not fun. Always, especially, and I hate to say it, but especially the LPNs, always sort of, keep your head on a swivel, mind your P's and Q's, keep your eyes and ears open, because it can happen. And it did happen. And it happened to nursing staff. And the shortage was, wasn't as short as it is now, but we still had a shortage at the time. It was definitely a terrifying time. But hope it helps. Hope you learned something. Maybe you didn't. Don't know. Thank you much.